The Oklahoma City Thunder did it. They won the NBA championship as the best team in the NBA this season, and arguably one of the best defenses of all time. Took down the Indiana Pacers in 7 games to rightfully win their first championship as a franchise. And we're going to dive in and explore their offseason breakdown, looking at players they could potentially trade, players they could potentially draft or trade back for to draft, and ultimately explore some free agents that they could also bring back for this team. The Oklahoma City Thunder obviously on this path of trying to win back-to-back championships and try to start this dynasty. And we'll have to be able to see how they'll be able to maneuver that with other teams now rising up into the occasion and trying to compete with them to dethrone them, similar to teams trying to do that to the Celtics this season. Without further ado, we're going to dive in and explore the Thunder offseason. So if you are a Thunder fan, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section if I did a good job talking about the Thunder or if I completely butcher their offseason. And also, if you are not a fan of the Thunder but want to hear about your team, check out the playlist as we've talked about every team now for the NBA season. And we'll be diving and doing more off-season content revolving around the draft and trades and other news, other topics as well revolving around the NBA on the channel following this series. So if you enjoyed the series, I really do appreciate you. For the final episode, we're going to dive in and talk about the Thunder, and let's get into it. So with the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have a lot of fun to really get into this offseason. Obviously, winning the NBA championship, they're going to be out there being on their high horse and well-deserving of so. We saw them obviously have the best record in the NBA, 68-14 last season, and a well-deserving offensive and defensive performance, which led them to this spot to where they're able to celebrate and be champions for their first time in franchise history. Now, obviously, when they were the Supersonics, they did win a championship, but as the Oklahoma City Thunder, this is their first championship, and that is very key for this team. Now, when diving in, looking at their offseason roster and breakdown, this one's going to be a little bit short, ladies and gentlemen, because the Thunder are basically going to be keeping their team together, and that's the scary part with all of this, and that's why I mentioned them potentially being a dynasty, winning next year, a couple years after that, or having a string of championships over the next 5 or 6 years, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, their MVP candidate and Finals MVP this year, scoring title champion, absolute animal this season for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's still going to be under contract. Jalen Williams was an absolute beast as that second option, had a 40-point game in the finals. Their double big man lineup of Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, really great defensive play from Lou Dort with guys like Cason Wallace, who's a young defensive guard, similar with Alex Caruso, who's that veteran, Nikola Topic, who was their selection last year, who we have still yet to see play for this Thunder team, Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, guys on the wing, with Wiggins and Isaiah Joe being some pretty solid shooters, Ousmane Dieng, Kendrick Williams, the other Jalen Williams. There is a lot of people that are going to be staying with this team, and if we look at their free agents, they have 2 team options and 3 two-ways. So if the Thunder wanted, they could just bring back this 15-man roster, trade out of picks 15, 24, and 44, and just run it back with this squad and have no changes and still be a dominant force in the West. But ultimately, there will be some changes, right? There's the possibility of the Thunder trading back in this draft, trading away these picks because they have so many draft picks, not only just this year, but in the future. They can't obviously select these guys and have them have a spot on their roster. Maybe they consider some of these team contracts, but guys like Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell have been very, very key pieces for this Oklahoma City Thunder team as young prospects that they have believed in, and with them being on cheap contracts and with the Thunder also being underneath the first apron, just right above the tax threshold, I think the Thunder are in a very, very good spot. Now, obviously, we'll go over what they can do in the draft potentially and what they could do here on the trade market. But when looking at the free agency side of things, I would expect guys like AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams to be brought back on those team contracts. Maybe they reassess these two-way deals depending on how they do with the 44th overall pick here, and depending on where they actually do select in the draft, maybe one of these guys doesn't come back, but realistically, these free agents should all be kind of back here for the Thunder. So that leaves the question of who's going to be getting traded. Will it be the draft picks? Will it be some players on the roster? We're going to dive into that next. So for the Thunder, there's not really a lot of players that they will consider trading. Like once again, like Shai Gilgeous, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein. This is their core. These are key guys. It's not like they're near the second apron. It's not like they're forced to shed their roster at this point. No, this team can consistently build with this squad and can keep this core all together. So when you're looking at trades here for this Thunder team, it's probably guys on the edges, right? Guys that are going to be just maybe not those key impact players, and maybe they could consolidate adding one or two of those guys to get another impact player, right? And one of those guys is Kenrich Williams. Obviously, he had been with the Oklahoma City Thunder even before the playoff pushes and the fun with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with this squad. A smaller power forward, but someone who can be a solid swing defender, rebounder, a little bit of just like a utility guy really around the league, but really has that heart, really has that hustle, and in my opinion, is someone who would be valued on a playoff team in some sporadic moments coming off the bench and maybe hitting some big time shots. He was able to do that for the Thunder over these last couple of seasons, but now with the Thunder team obviously being younger and having all these great pieces, he's kind of been pushed out of this rotation. So maybe with his tradable contract of around $8 million, they tried to move off of him to bring in a smaller contract to save some money, or maybe even package it alongside this contract in Ousmane Dieng, who was someone that was gauged out on the trade market with the Oklahoma City Thunder this trade deadline as a young, intriguing piece. Dieng was a lottery pick, I believe, 2 seasons ago, maybe 3 seasons ago at this point. I do not know off the top of my head, but I know he was a lottery pick by the Oklahoma City Thunder. But with, once again, this Thunder team having so many expansive pieces and guys in their forward group like Lou Dort, J-Dub, Chet Holmgren, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Ousmane Dieng hasn't been able to break out and kind of make himself into this rotation here for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, he also has, a little bit of unpolished game here, in my opinion. So I do think there is some intrigue with the guy in Ousmane Dieng. Now, once again, for a Thunder team, they can kind of just stock and hold on to a guy like this, but ultimately they could package him, Kenrich Williams, maybe even look at a contract like Aaron Wiggins or Isaiah Joe to go out and maybe get an upgrade. I know they were linked to a guy in Cam Johnson around the trade deadline. I don't necessarily know if Cam Johnson is going to be that all-out piece to go out and get. I think obviously that would be key, and that put them over the top, and maybe that's something they can do with pick 15 here if they want to try to do something here leading up to the draft to help entice the Brooklyn Nets kind of looking in, as Ousmane Dieng, either Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins with that 15th overall pick would be very intriguing for Cam Johnson. I do see this Thunder team really trying to keep an eye out and evaluate some of these younger prospects and try to bring them in. By doing so, one of these guys might have to be out, and that's where Ousmane Dieng kind of comes into play. Maybe they can flip him for other additional draft capital in the future alongside a guy in Kenrich Williams, or maybe just get another filler piece. All right, now we're going to look at the draft. Like I said, not many people that I think the Thunder could trade. Now, once again, with the draft, it also does get complicated with the Thunder because they have 3 picks here, and since they have so many future picks, they could ultimately move up, they could move back. It's going to be very confusing. With them having 15 roster spots already basically being filled, it will be something to keep an eye on. Maybe they do decline one of these team options in A.J. Mitchell or Jalen Williams, but I would expect both of those guys to be back. So with that being said, we could see the Thunder, unless they do make a trade on draft night, potentially just not even making some selections and trading out of these picks. But I'm going to look at a key position for the Thunder that I still think they do need to address, because if you look at their guard position, they're pretty kind of handled there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Caruso, Cason Wallace, Nikola Topic, Isaiah Joe, Dylan Jones, A.J. Mitchell, they have those guards, right? You look at the wings, Jalen Williams can play that kind of wing, Lou Dort can play that wing, Kenrich Williams can play that wing, Aaron Wiggins can play that wing. They have a little bit of wings there too. Maybe they can kind of consider one other wing here or there if that's what they want to go for. But my position here for them is the big man. They obviously can run the double big with Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. They can stagger and also go a little bit small, so they have one of them come off the bench. But I think addressing and getting another big man body into this room is something that the Thunder could really value. So I have 3 guys that I think they really consider, one of them being Joan Berenger from the France League, or I don't know if he plays in the France League, but he is French. He's a very talented defender, really solid shot blocker, rim protector, and I think this could be, once again, another piece that the Thunder really do consider there at the center position to go alongside once their guys in Chet Holmgren and obviously Isaiah Hartenstein. Another one is Danny Wolf, and these players are around the pick 15 to 24 range here for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Danny Wolf being a little bit of a passing big, someone who's also a pretty solid rebounder, has a pretty good shot. I can see him fitting in very well with this Oklahoma City Thunder team and just taking another leap into this big man group alongside guys like Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. And then lastly, the next one I want to mention is Thomas Sorber. And I'll mention Sorber here particularly for probably pick 15, just in case he does fall out the lottery and the Thunder say, hey, this is another untapped potential piece, similar to a guy, Nikola Topic. Now, Topic obviously was out for last season dealing with an injury. Sorberg dealt with an injury at the end of this year and didn't get to participate in the Combine, and I truly do believe that's where his stock has really fallen for a guy like him. He was able to finish out this season. He was able to participate in the Combine. I truly do believe he would be a lottery lock at this point, with all those signs kind of pushing him around that draft selection, and maybe even pushing him back a little bit more, even into those mid-teens and even into early 20s. A team like the Thunder could easily pounce on a guy like this and then wait the development of him as well, because they have guys like Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren to dominate and play. They could let him fully come back healthy, and then once he comes back and is ready to be a prime impact defender for this team, he can easily fit in and really help out. Another guy I want to mention as well, because looking at wings and someone that I think I could keep an eye on for them is Drake Powell as well from UNC. He's someone that played and has a very solid frame, can be a solid defender for a team in the Oklahoma City Thunder who obviously prioritizes on the defensive end, obviously with guys like Lou Dort, Jalen Williams and stuff like that, Aaron Wiggins, and I think maybe Drake Powell could be one of those replacements if they do look to move off of an Aaron Wiggins or Isaiah Joe, more like an Aaron Wiggins type, more than an Isaiah Joe on an offensive side, but being that kind of defender that can also help out for this team. Another guy that I don't have the picture of here that I want to mention as well is Nick Clifford. He's from Colorado State, and he just possibly came into my mind. I think he could be a little bit of a sneaky fit for this Oklahoma City Thunder team as a 3-and-D guy, and just I think that would be a pretty solid piece for them. Ultimately, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, when looking at some of these pieces for them, you can't really ask for much more. They just won the NBA championship, so if they get any stronger, any better, it's just going to just add on to this nucleus and make them even more dominant and even more interesting for a part in a championship, going and competing into the next couple of rounds here in the next couple of years, when we try to see them going to repeat to try to get a championship or continue to get this dynasty. And I'm really excited to see what this Thunder team can do. I'm very happy for them. Once again, the best team in the NBA, in my personal opinion, won the NBA championship, and that is when you know that the NBA is having a good product, when the best teams are continuing to win. We saw that with the Nuggets in 23. We saw that last year with the Celtics in 24. We saw it this year with the Thunder in 2025. And I'm hoping going into next season, we can see the same outcome in 2026, depending on who that team is. Once again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into this series, letting me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of all these videos, going over the offseason breakdowns of every single team. Like I said, the playlist will be up, so if you missed a team or if your team you think was not mentioned, go check below down in the playlist. I definitely have a breakdown going over what I personally think each team should do in the off season. And like I said, we're going to have more content coming out here over on Swish City, going over the NBA, looking at some trades that are going to be happening over the next couple of days, right? Looking at the draft and going over guys that were teams that had won the draft, teams that had lost the draft, sleepers in the draft that I think got picked at the right spot. Many more topics. Also, we'll be going over offseason breakdowns and looking at teams once we get closer to the season, once the offseason has kind of ended, to really predict where they're going to fall, and that will be interesting. So we're going to have a lot of fun here on the channel. So if you do enjoy basketball content, enjoy my thoughts, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning into this series, and there'll be much more content coming to Swish City in the future, so definitely stay tuned. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out, everyone.